Imagine you want to hand a stack of papers to a worker through a mail slot, but you don't want to read the papers out loud first. You just want to slide them through silently. That's essentially what a heredoc does. It sneaks multiple lines of text directly into a command's input slot, called standard input, without echoing anything to your screen. A heredoc has three parts. First, the command that will receive the text, like cat, which prints. Here's the flow. The shell starts reading line by line after it sees your opening, indi. It gathers every line silently. Those lines are not treated as commands, not printed back to you. The moment the shell hits a line containing nothing but yendi, it closes the collection, then funnels that whole bundle of lines into the command's standard input, just like pouring water from a bucket into a funnel. And one quick note about here strings. Instead of many lines, the operator hands a single short string to a command's input, like passing one note instead of a stack. We'll stick with the multi-line heredoc for this example, since that's the concept you asked about. Let's look at the full program. It's a small shell script called demo.sh. The first line is a comment. The hash mark tells the shell, ignore this, it's just a human note. The next line begins our heredoc, then we have 3 lines of text, and finally the closing yendi sentinel. That's the complete heredoc structure in one script. On line 2 we see cat. That's the command that will receive our text. Cat is a Unix tool whose only job is to read whatever comes into its standard input and print it back out. By itself it does nothing useful. The magic happens because of what we pair it with. Right after cat we have 2 less than signs. This is the heredoc operator. It tells the shell, the next word will be your sentinel, and everything after it is text to feed in. Then the word yendi is chosen as our sentinel. You could pick any word, eof stop banana, but it must match exactly when you close it later, including the same capitalization. Lines 3, 4 and 5 are the payload, 3 lines of plain text. Crucially, the shell does not treat these as commands. It does not try to execute them, does not echo them back to your terminal, and does not print a greater than sign prompt. It quietly collects them and routes them to cat's input. And finally, line 6 has just the word yendi on its own line. Nothing before it, no spaces, no other characters. This is the closing sentinel. When the shell sees this exact word standing alone, it knows the payload is complete, so it bundles all the previous lines and feeds them to cat's standard input in one shot. So the end result. When you run this script, cat prints exactly the 3 lines. Hello world. This is line 2, the final line. And nothing else. No extra prompts, no echoing, no temporary files. The heredoc syntax is just a compact, readable way to deliver multi-line input to any command that reads from standard input. A heredoc lets you pour multi-line text straight into a command's standard input, terminated by a delimiter word of your choice. The word can be anything, eof, yendi, stop, even banana, but the golden rule is simple. Pick something that won't appear inside your content. When you quote the delimiter, like eof, bash treats the body as pure literal text. Parameter expansion, command substitution, and backslash escapes all switch off, which makes quoted heredocs the safest way to ship SQL, JSON, or scripts containing $signs and backticks that must survive untouched. The classic move is cat file eof to write a config file in one shot. The heredoc body becomes the file's contents, the eof marker ends the stream, and you walk away with a freshly written config. No editor, no temp files, no fuss. For interactive database work, the shorthand lets you feed a single string, while a full heredoc handles multi-line SQL cleanly. Launch MySQL, type eof, paste your query, close with eof, and the database executes the whole block as one statement. Heredocs pair beautifully with T. Pipe the heredoc into tscript.sh, and the script both appears on your terminal for review and lands on disk ready to run. A 2-for-1 deal that beats writing the file then catting it back to verify. Beyond config files and SQL, heredocs shine whenever you need to embed a script inside another script, generate documentation, or build files dynamically in CI pipelines. Master the delimiter, respect the quoting rules, and heredocs become one of the sharpest tools in your shell arsenal. Meet the here string, 3 angle brackets that turn any single line into standard input with zero ceremony. The syntax is lean. Command string delivers that string straight to the command stdin, with a trailing new line automatically appended. Think of here strings as the quick-fire cousin of the heredoc, where demands a closing delimiter block, just wants one word. Perfect for one-liners like grep root, /etc/password, or BC 2+3. Under the hood is shorthand for echo string command, but with a crucial upgrade. The string is delivered directly by the shell, so no subshell is spawned, no extra process is forked, and shell variables on the right side are still expanded before the input is constructed. One non-negotiable rule. The right-hand side is always treated as a single line. Even if your string contains embedded new lines or multiple words, Bash packs it into one input record and tacks on a final new line. So commands like read see exactly one line. Because there's no subshell, the command runs in the current shell environment. That means variable assignments inside BC, x equals 5, x won't pollute your session, but function calls and built-in see the same scope you're sitting in. Reach for, when you need to feed one string to one command. Reach for heredocs when you need multi-line blocks. And reach for pipes only when you're chaining actual command output, not static text you already have in hand. Master the distinction and your scripts get faster, cleaner, and more idiomatic. 3 chevrons, 1 line, 0 subshells. That's the here string promise. 3 redirection techniques make stdin handling in Linux precise and scriptable. Heredocs pipe multi-line input into a command. Here strings feed a single line, and T writes that input to both a file and stout simultaneously. Starting with a clean slate, the clear command wipes the terminal so each demonstration reads with full focus. The prompt returns to the home directory, ready for the first heredoc. The heredoc syntax lets you pass multiple lines of input directly to cat without using a file. You declare the delimiter ynd after. Type your lines and the shell feeds everything until it sees ynd on its own line into cat, which prints it verbatim. Here strings collapse that pattern into a single line using grep accepts the string /etc/password as its stdin, searches it for the pattern root, and returns the one matching line. No file argument needed, no pipe, just direct inline input. T splits a stream in 2 directions. This command takes the here string hello and sends it to both /tmp/demo.txt on disk and stout on the screen, so you write a file and see its contents in a single motion. Verifying the file actually exists, cat reads /tmp/demo.txt back to the screen. The output hello confirms T wrote exactly what was passed in, no surprises, no extras. Closing the session with clear leaves the workspace tidy. Heredocs for blocks of text, here strings for single line stdin, and T for branching output. 3 tools that cover nearly every stdin redirection scenario you will encounter.